Welcome back to Her Per Hooray, a weekly worldwide transmission. I'm your host, Jason Rossi. We are simulcasting on RossiReptiles.com, Buzzsprout, and don't forget to subscribe and download us on iTunes. This week's featured breeder of the week brought us one of the baddest morphs out there, the Motley Boa Project. He has another game changer, an all-white Lucy boa constrictor. We're here to talk about the Princess Diamond Project. I'm very pleased to announce Her Per Hooray's very special guest, Jeremy Stone from Jeremy Stone Reptiles, also boaconstrictor.com. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be on.
Awesome. So why don't you give our listeners a little background on the Princess Diamond Project?
You want to go right for the guns. First, let's just talk boas quickly, and then I'll go right into projects, because the Motley is what helped me with the Diamond. I mean, it's helped me progress through everything, and you have to pick projects right, and that Motley I credit. You know, it really helped build my business. It was one of the biggest game changers for me and helped me realize I could do this as a business and do it long term and build it up. And that's really what started. It was the Motley Boa, and that was back in 1997. And I purchased that from Ron St. Pierre for a lot of money back then, and it changed a lot of the boa morphs. It's cool to see. And I was just talking to my wife about it. In Facebook, you'll go on and you'll see Motley Boas in every single part of the world, whether it be a Motley hypo or a Motley jungle or something like that, and to know it all kind of started back right where you were, and it's all the grandbabies out there. It's a pretty cool feeling.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little about the Diamond Project?
The Diamond Project is my favorite boa project. It really is. It's a project I'm protective of the project. I really like it. It's probably one of my favorites. It's my favorite boa I've ever seen. And then just to own it has been cool. To work with it and get babies from them, and then do the whole project I feel lucky.
What is the genetics on that? Is it recessive?
It is recessive, and I'll go into it. It's too tough to say right now if you can see phenotypes, because the babies are so pretty, so it throws off pastel babies, and there's all sorts of different markers in them. And next year will be the first year I'm able to breed one of his daughters, and so that's when I'll know I'll get white babies. But right now I know that leucistic gene is recessive. His babies carry the gene, and they throw off just amazing colors and patterns to just existing morphs. So it's pretty cool. People think, why put codominance in a snake that's going to make it all white? Well, I don't know exactly how the end white will work, if you'll see other colors or patterns on it, because I've seen you can see certain scales and pattern, little color on all different white snakes. I work with a lot of different white snakes and ball pythons too, and I kind of think it's very similar to the fire, but until I breed the babies, some of his babies, to normals, will I find out if you can see it in a phenotypic way.
So you retired the project, the founding Princess Diamond.
Yeah, I did. I've been really guarded on the project. I know it's rare. It's a game changer. I know that everybody's going to want white snakes when the price comes down. And, I mean, I would, and a lot of people will. I think I was telling you earlier, our demand for snow boas, moon glow boas, is huge. I can't produce enough. And eventually white snakes with black eyes, and makes insane-looking morphs much easier, stronger genetically. I think it'll do well.
Yeah, because as we discussed before, we were talking about the lifespan of breeding boas. You know, that's amazing.
With the Diamond Project, I took a different route. Of course, it took me a while to raise him. I didn't breed him until he was 3. I tried. He didn't breed when he was younger. I didn't breed him at 18 months. And I finally got some babies, one litter. And then I had one of, the most worst things that could ever happen to you. I had 2 litters, and I had a jungle female that was gravid that year. And right on her due date, she passed away. There were 17 dead babies in there, and that was like a huge crush. Huge crush to me. It would have been a big jump start. But I was able to breed him last year to 2 females and this year to 2 females, and that's enough genetic bloodline for that project for him. So I don't need to breed him back to any of his daughters or to anything else, because when I breed the babies, I'll have white ones, and I'm trying to get as much genetic diversity as I can outcrossing. So I think that'll be a much better way to take it, so I can have strong bloodlines, because the bloodline is extremely strong. The animals that the leucistic male produces, they're just really hardy babies. Good bloodline.
So would you say that it's the same in the wild, their lifespan, as it is as in captivity?
No, it's different in the wild than it is in the wild. They're not going to breed as consistently as we, because we put them through a process. If you're talking wild boas as to captive, it's quite different. And the season's similar. They'll come in babies in a certain season, but the females out in the wild aren't going to be bred consistently. It's all more according to the food that they have and the males that they have access to. And so when we breed in captivity, we're putting our animals through more of a stress cycle than we can. And it's kind of the negative of the business, is I have to breed my animals to make a living. But in doing so, I'm also putting, their lifespan lower than probably what they would be if they were just a solid pet. And so when you're breeding, it's just a different ballgame, because you can kind of control the stress amount that you put on your animals. And breeding boas, everybody knows that the males breed a very long period of time. They'll copulate for months, and that's a lot of stress. So with your males, males can breed young at 18 months, but if you do that, you're going to keep your male smaller. He's not going to get up to a big, huge size, because you put a lot of emphasis on breeding him, and that shortens his lifespan. He's not going to maintain max growth because he's bred. And the same thing with the female. You're giving your animal in captivity food selection more than it has in the wild, or more consistent, and so you're also putting stress on males when you're breeding them for a long period of time. In the wild, they might be crawling off those females in search of others, getting breaks, things like that. So the stress in captivity is definitely going to shorten their lifespan if you breed the animal. If you keep the animal as a pet, you can keep a boa for many years, and they're very healthy animals. But when you do breed the animals, you are shortening their lifespan. It's the same with dogs, cats, a lot of others, especially the live-bearing snakes. It seems a little bit harder on them.
Yeah, I was watching your video earlier today, and that Motley Het Princess Diamond has that crazy striping going on. Is that what you're talking about? Like
Yeah, they're gorgeous. And they have these really pastel tails. They change colors, too. I've been able to watch them grow up, and it's a boa that gets better and better as it grows, which is really cool. And you keep adult snakes, so you want to have good-looking adults. And I love them. I mean, it's just a fantastic morph to work with. So it's made the Motleys look better. It's made the jungles look better. It's made the hypos look better. And I put it in morphs just to get diversity of bloodlines. I wanted it in the Motley because I think the Motley is one of the strongest bloodlines out there. And so having the combination of the two is, I know they're really hardy, strong animals.
So you also have a video series coming out on your breeding boas. Why don't you tell our listeners?
I do.
From these videos.
I enjoy doing the videos. I do all the editing and put them up on YouTube. I used to do a lot more than I do, but I've collected a lot of footage throughout the years, and I wanted to do a breeding and keeping video. And we'll have that available probably October 15th. I thought by October 1st, but it's going to look like October 15th, and it's a collection of years, and it's kind of an all keeping and breeding boas question and answer, similar to what we're doing, just a lot more detail. And I'll give tricks of the trade, a lot more than I would talk about, just publicly.
Awesome. That VPIT positive Motley has some insane coloring going on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that project?
One of the best snakes, outside of all the morphs we've talked about, the Princess Diamond project and the Motley, but I really am not into mass production of boas. I don't produce a lot, and my goal is not to, of a certain amount. I like to work with certain different things and have a lot of variety for my customers. And so that VPI has been one of my favorites. It's just a great animal to work with. And putting the Motley in the VPI made it an amazing-looking snake. And then the Sungle Motley VPI is awesome. And I've also made the Jungle Motley VPI, and that's considered, a lot of my customers just love that animal. It's a gorgeous animal. They have different colors. And they get older. As they get older, they just start to turn into a purple, beautiful color. And, again, it's making adult snakes that look better. And that's what you want. Better as they grow. Yeah. Ball pythons, I do a lot of breeding there, and the boas. It's a lot different game because ball pythons, if you produce bumblebees, the bees, somebody else's bumblebees are the same price as yours regardless usually of looks. And so once they bottom at that price, it's just more of you just get it out there, it's a bee. With boas, it's different. There's certain animals in a litter that are always going to command a little bit more, and you'll sell much faster because they look better. And as they get older, they turn into prettier adults. And I'm not saying that you can't do that with ball pythons, because we have, but I just see a lot more variation in litters amongst your base morphs, lots more than you do in the ball pythons.
The jungle paradigm is another looker for sure. Hottie.
That's a good-looking animal, and there's just some strange, wacky genes that go on with the boas, and mixing that boa woman caramel with the sharp, like Weitzman did then, made some fantastic-looking animals. They look very similar to, that VPI look, just different looks, different genetics too. And that paradigm project's fun because there's a lot of people that have sharp albinos, and I like the sharp albino a lot. It's a great animal. We have a small collection of sharps, and just a refined one, and they're great animals, great breeders, and to have sharp females with that paradigm stuff and boa woman caramel, it can make your collection come alive if you get the right crosses to breed to them.
Now, going back to the Motley, have you tried outcrossing that far enough?
You know what? I'll go on record on this too. The Super Motley was a big disappointment. I actually produced a Super Motley. I called it the Purple Patternless and the Red Devil before I even knew what was going on with the Motley. Knowing it was codominant, when you breed Motley to Motley, you're going to get supers, of course. Those will be dominant. And they're patternless black boas, almost a purple hue. And I popped them out just of Motley to normals, because that happens randomly with boas. When you breed a lot of snakes, you'll see just random things. And that happens. But the Super Motley has always had more of a slower growth to it. It's got a slower tongue. It seems like they're not as strong in the super form. They're most gorgeous animals, but as they grow, their bodies are just a little bit different. Now, I've seen Super Motleys since then, and there's a lot of outcrossing and breeding that look amazing, and I've produced some this year that are really healthy. They're not slow to eat. They're growing, but I don't know. And I usually don't sell them unless I let people know that they're just an animal that people want to have just as a black boa. And I don't recommend it as a breeder until we can strengthen the genes, and I don't know if you can when you mix a lot of different genes. I don't know if you can make it much stronger, but it seems that the Central American and Colombian ones are coming together and making stronger Super Motleys. I know a couple people that have made them that they're actually fantastic. So the jury's not out on them. We'll be able to see if they can breed in the next few years and go from there.
So do you have any leopards in your collection?
I do. Very small amount, and I like them. I used to have a lot, but now I like the hypo leopards. They make some amazing combinations for the Central American boas. I have a small Central American group. This year I didn't breed hardly. I just had a few females, but we have about 40 animals that are just really good, and they're such good breeders. I love the Centrals because they are very hardy. They're easier than the Colombians to breed. They are more aggressive. They're darker, and a lot of people don't think they're as aesthetically pleasing to the eye. But with these morphs now and combinations, boy, you're seeing some of these Central Americans that are just some of the best-looking boas on the planet. The blood jungle, there's all these different crosses with them, and the T positive, the leopard T positive, the onyx. There's just tons of them. Gorgeous animals.
I'm sure you saw the leopard Motley.
I did. Yeah, and that is awesome because the Red Devil, everybody was hoping if the Super Motley was good to make a red, completely patternless boa. And I think that that's now a great way you can do it. If you see that, you can put the leopard, the Motley almost makes a completely black boa. You put a hypo in there, you're going to get basically what that Red Devil was. I don't think he'll have solid black eyes. I don't know. We just don't know yet. So we'll start to see red boas, and that was a great combination. I'm glad it was done.
Yeah, I saw that and thought of you.
Well, I love it when other people make stuff because it keeps me excited. You can't do them all. And I admire a lot of the work out there that people have done. And people have done a great job with the boas. It's been interesting to be in the market and watch it for a long period of time. And a lot of people got out of boas, and so many people have perfected them, and there's so many different morphs and colors and looks. And there's boa freaks all throughout the world that are pretty specific on their colors. And it's amazing to see all the people making stuff for what people want.
So how's your season going over there at boaconstrictor.com?
This season was one of our slower seasons for breeding boas. Balls, it was really good. But, having a downer year is not really a bad thing. You get your females rest. I've kind of slowed down. I've got my goals of where I really want to be size-wise. And, you know, a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years, it was 3 years ago, we produced way too many litters. When you have 70-plus boa litters, that's too many babies to feed. You're constantly having to get more rodents for your bills. It was crazy, and it's hectic, especially having a couple hundred ball pythons breeding too. So it's a lot, and I've just slowed down, and I'm trying to go more specific. And I've gotten an idea of what my customers want and what I like, and I'll just go for certain things, not in mass numbers. I really don't ever want to have more than 40, 50 boa litters again, because it's just too much. So I'm refined it. I've got the animals plugged in. I've got those numbers that I can do, and if I can do that, I'll be fine in what I do. But I really don't ever want to produce more than 40, 50 litters. You can overproduce for your customers too, and that hurts your business, and that's a negative, and so you just kind of got to gauge it. It's interesting every year too. Something that's popular one year isn't this year. I produced a bunch of jungle boas, and I thought the prices were down on them. We've had customers overseas that have taken every single one of them. And then the same with the motleys. I thought it would be more down, and I've released price lists, and they're gone at that lower prices really fast. So last year it seems like I couldn't sell the jungles at this time. This year I'm out. And so it's interesting.
Any new first of its kind over there at Jeremy Stone Reptiles?
Oh, yeah. Every day we're hatching balls first of its kind. I mean, we've hatched a lot this year. Boas this year first, I have to think. Yes, adding different genes recessive-wise, for sure. I made the jungle, first ever, the jungle het PDs. I only had 3, but they're the most beautiful jungle boas you'll ever see. So those are the het white snake. Those are really interesting. I made some stuff with the blood boas that was really cool. Jungle blood, jungle motleys, het blood, stuff like that for future stuff. As you see all these other combinations, you want to put these other genes in, and you have to make them first and then breed them. So I did a lot of stuff for myself this year to replenish my breeding stock. And I did some more work with the VPI. I had a very slow VPI year, and we sold out a ton of our VPI stuff early, prematurely. And so when I didn't have as good a year as I thought, I wish I didn't sell it out at what I did. But we made a lot of combination animals. The first ever moon glow VPI was produced this year. It's a beautiful animal, absolutely gorgeous. And so the anery is key to having the VPI line, making purple boas, stuff like that. So I increased my bloodline. I made some really cool jungle motley aneries that are het VPI. So it's a jungle motley anery. I'd never even made a jungle anery before, and so I went ahead and we did that one. Just some different cool combinations that I think will add a ton in 3-4 years for the looks of boas.
So it sounds like fun.
I bombed out on a few key ones too, man. I really, really did. I tell you, my failures better than the successes this year, it seems.
There's always next season, right? All right, so why don't you give us a basic setup on how you set up your boa constrictor?
Okay. Boa babies, it's all about getting the baby started right. Baby boas are more difficult than ball python babies. And there's certain babies, you know, if you raise a lot of babies, some of them are finicky at first. But I believe you have to get your boas started right. If you do, your boa is going to be a great, great animal. If you don't, you can be in for a long road. And so I've had a strategy because I don't like any boa coming back to me. When I sell an animal, you don't want it to come back. If you do, you don't stay in business. So you have to produce healthy animals. And the key to getting healthy animals out there is starting your boas right. And that's one thing I feel like we've done really well. And I've honed in on it over the past 5-7 years of just how to get them right, not to over-push them. And I don't like to sell anything more than a couple $1,000s of value unless I've had it at least 2-3 months, because I know once I get it that solid that it's hard to mess up. But people will mess them up. They'll try and overfeed them, all that kind of stuff, and you can run into issues with live animals anywhere. But basically, I think the key is setting your babies up right, when to feed them, the size amount, not bothering them so much, and letting them get going. Once they do, after about 4, 5, 6 months, you have that system. They're just as hardy and great animals. But if you don't get them going right, you know, you can get some problems with those boas. People want to overfeed, get them up too fast to breed, And unlike ball pythons, you can't stuff them. They'll regurgitate. They'll eat when they're bigger and not usually have problems. But if you stuff your boas and overfeed them, it's not going to be a healthy animal.
So what temperature you keep your boas at?
I keep my boas at they're always around 85 to 88. They have hot pads, hot heat pans where they can get, I use Freedom Breeder, and they can go on and off the heat. And my heat is always set at a higher 92. And you alter your temperatures when you come into the fall. I live in Utah, so we get a lot of good winter pressure storms, and I think that helps with breeding, misting, and they can feel these low pressure storms come in the fall. They know breeding is starting to come around, and so the temperatures would get lower, the light cycle gets shorter, and the boas start to go into the breeding season.
So why don't you give us an insight of a few of the future projects over there at Jeremy Stone Reptiles?
I got some really fun projects. The future projects I see is I'm working with a lot of these BPI morphs. I think you just can't make them. They're so pretty. People are loving them. They like different looks. All albinos, and you really can't have enough albinos, it seems. Everybody wants albinos, and just regular albinos, you got to make really nice ones and colorful ones, and there's all those projects, and you can incorporate them into other genes. And so I'm looking forward to putting, I think once you get 4 and 5 genes mixed into one animal, it's enough. It's hard to identify them afterwards. They're either going to be solid white, black, this or that. So you got to be careful there and pick a C5 that just changes the look. That's what makes boa breeding so much fun, I think, because we're not taking these animals out of the wild to release them into the wild, of course not. They're captive for our appreciation, for our joy, our love, and people that keep an animal, it's strange to have the psyche of a snake person. Why do you keep snakes? Well, I keep snakes because I enjoy them, I love them, and it's my favorite animal in the world. And if I'm going to work with them, life's too short. You've got, 50, 60 years to live on the planet, 80 if you're lucky. For 10 years, I want to have one of the best-looking boas. And I want to make one of the best-looking boas, and that's the excitement of what I do and why I love doing what I do. Every year is going to be different. It's going to be exciting. You're going to produce stuff that you didn't know you were going to produce and see different looks to different animals. And then when you sell them, that person's picking them out. They want that for a breeder. They want that long-term look into their collection. And again, you're only living so long. You might as well have something that you enjoy, a good pet, something like that. Live life to its fullest, or you're going to end up sad.
So why don't you give us some similarities and differences between the boa and the ball python market?
The similarities is the demand was huge. It's huge, and since some of the legislation went down with the boas, there was a huge correction. I think that ball pythons are easier than boas, much easier than boas. You can take a male ball python under a year, breed it to multiple females. You can't do that with boas. You have to have patience. One male cannot breed 8 to 10 females. It's impossible. The most I've ever been able to get is 5, which is lucky, very lucky, and that's a stretch. So you can't get multiples. Now, where the boas make up for it is the numbers. So you have a female, my average is 16 to 20, 22 babies. Excuse me. If you get that amount, and the numbers make up for it. But it's hard to do. So you need more females than you do with the ball pythons. With your boas, you can only do a 1 to 2 ratio. So when you're buying, you can't go get a bunch of normal females and a couple power morphs and breed them through. You're going to need to have a lot more females with the boas to make up for it with the numbers. Also, another thing that's key is the babies. Baby ball pythons are really easy to get going. They go off speed, and nobody even worries about that anymore, and that used to be an annoyance to pet keepers. The boas are cool because they usually always eat, and they don't go through fasting phases. So with ball pythons, you get them feeding, and they're strong feeders out the door. You usually don't have problems with them. Get them to eat once or twice, you can ship them to your customers, and they're fine. Boas, again, you have to draw back, be a little bit more patient with them. And then the key is you can breed males at 18 months, but it's much better if you can hold, to breed that male at 2.5. He's much stronger, bigger, will get a lot more bang for your buck if you're trying to breed. So I always say the patient is the best route. It's hard to do, always hard to do, because you want to breed your snakes as fast as you can, but the longer you can keep them and raise them, the better off you're going to be in the long term for those animals.
So what about the market pricing?
Pricing market is completely different. It's so different because I have a huge boa base, customer base, and there's certain people that, my business is half wholesale and half retail, and so we have a big network of people that'll call us, and through our registration through our site, we give them price lists and they're gone. Ball pythons, there's much more people asking for all the time, and it's a lot more. It seems more competitive. Boas, if you produce a certain amount of numbers of rare looks and stuff, I sell out, and so it's been easier to manage the boa projects for me. Ball pythons, it seems every year I'm having to guess which one is going to go this way or go that way as far as pricing. But the demand is definitely much more on ball pythons. It's easier to mass produce them because you can keep them so many, and you can keep 30 ball pythons in the space of 6 boas. So you can really get more spacing out of them. With boas, to do it on a large number, you have to have a big area to breed them. So it's harder to mass produce the boas. But it can be done. I mean, there's ways where the market, you see markets go up and down. There's a lot of boas produced when they do, the prices go down. Same thing with the ball pythons. The difference in the two, I like working with both. Ball pythons have taught me a ton about genetics because I've breed a lot of different things, and it's helped me put my mind to the test and apply it to boas. And since I've done that, it's made me a better boa breeder. So it's good to work with both species. And I prefer the boa, but I do love the ball pythons. They're awesome. We're more low-key on the ball pythons. We don't advertise them as heavy. I like to promote the boas. I do my videos, all those YouTube videos I do. I try and just promote boas because that's my passion.
I remember in one of your videos you said the boa is taking you around the world. Why don't you tell us about the cool places you've been?
It has. It really has. All because of the snake. I started as a kid and loving reptiles, and it's pretty unique and strange to find people that love what they do and work with it. And then I think because of the snake, I have been able to travel and meet other people I would never have met, friends from all over. I get invites, and people have come here from out of different countries. We've hosted people from many different countries and customers that I've gotten to know, and it's really cool. So you're connected. The reptile business has connected me to people I never would have met, and we're all different looks, different types, but that common interest of that snake is right there, and people respect your work, and I respect a lot of work, and a lot of people that are overseas, and we don't even communicate in the same language, but they're always asking about the boas, and that's one thing we have in common. It's a cool connection. And I do credit that. I've been able to travel all through South America, all through Europe, just because of the snake, doing business and meeting people and connecting with people, and it's been a really cool experience.
I heard they go all out at the expos over there in Europe.
They do. It's a different setup. It's different. The shipping there is different. The U.S., we have a lot of privileges because of our shipping. It's easy to ship snakes now. It's you had Robin on before. Ship Your Reptiles has done a great job helping people ship reptiles. It's changed the business. Media's changed the business. There, it's different. There's all these different customs, different countries, very small. You're driving through. And so their shipping with all that is different. And so people seem to come to the shows like the old Daytona shows that we did for many years. There'd be a ton of people more at those shows because they have to get their animals. They don't have to go. They don't want to go through the big shipping process. And so it's much more easy for us to do business here than there. So it seems like the shows are just really hardcore. It's just a full day of just everybody out grunting around and doing their work, collecting what they can, and then they're just gone. It's pretty different from the 2-day U.S. shows you're used to.
Okay, so you know better than anybody. So what would you say the best course of action is against all the bans that we're encountering as of late?
I think that the key is to just speak up and get people more aware. I understand being a snake lover, we're more reclusive people. We like to keep secrets. We like to keep our projects under wraps. We don't want everybody to know we're snake people. If everybody knew, if I walked out and talked to the person at the grocery store and told them I had 1,000 snakes, they'd think I'm crazy. So I think that the key is just getting good education out there and supporting organizations that are organized like USARC that help breeders really let us know what's going on legislative-wise. And we have a lot of good connections. There are so many people in the reptile business that we know that know people. But if we opened our mouth a little bit more and told the truth, we're responsible keepers. We love what we do. And, there's a lot of bad legislation that is out there. It's fear-based. It's money-based, and it's sad because, we don't have the rights that we used to. I think that people just need to open their mouth. Don't be afraid to go out and say, look, I support this. This is what's right, and here's the facts. And I think that breeders could open their mouth a little bit more. You could show your neighbors, if you have kids, go show some school programs. Let people know about the animals, what your passion is and why. And when people see that, they think different, and they look at me and think, wow, he is a little different with the snakes, but they see my passion for the animals and why I do what I do. They respect that. That's something that people will respect anywhere. And so if people just get out there a little bit more and say, yeah, I do keep snakes, but I get it. Some of my customers, and I have a lot of them, don't ever want to be known that they even keep snakes, and I understand that. But I would encourage people to get out there and open their mouth and also support organizations financially or donate animals to auctions that will help USARC. We have some great people that work there, some great reptile experts, good lobbyists, and I think if that grows, that helps us tremendously.
Awesome. So we again thank you for taking time out of your busy, hectic schedule to come out here and talk to us, man. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
You bet, no problem. If you want me back, I could do a better Q&A for you, give you more questions instead of just rambling off the top.
Oh, no problem.
I'm terrible at interviews.
Is there anything else you'd like to add in closing before we go?
Well, let me think here.
This is your time.
I definitely want people out there to know, that there's a good, solid business, that the reptile business is full of a lot of good people. We've had a bad rap out there in the media with the laws and stuff, and, I want people to try and stay positive and know that the work that they do is valuable. It really is. It does bring joy to a lot of different people. The animals are something that us reptile lovers know. If you produce some really cool animals and other people enjoy that, that's something that everybody can enjoy. So starter breeders, anybody getting in, just working with those animals, breeding, producing, is a huge buzz, and it's an accomplishment, and it's educational, and it's all positive. I don't see how there could be anything wrong with it. Of course, I'm the reptile lover, though.
And I'm glad to be part of it, my friend.
I am, too. It's a good place to be.
Well, make sure to check out bowconstrictor.com and see all the cool stuff they got going on over there at Jeremy Stone Reptiles. All right, that's going to do it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Her Purr Parade. Don't forget to subscribe and comment on iTunes. And as always, we're streaming live at herpurparade.buzzsprout.com and rossyreptiles.com. Her Purr Parade.